Woo! Good morning, market snipers. Welcome back. We're getting started right at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right on the dot as usual. I'm Jesse, if you didn't know already. But if you're new to the live stream, awesome. Welcome. And if you're returning to the live stream, even better. Good to see you back on here. On the first half of the live stream, we will cover Bitcoin, altcoins, stocks. And on the second half of the live stream, we will cover your chart requests. So make sure to put in the ticker symbol, and let me know if it's crypto or stock or whatever it is, and put it all in the comments, and we'll circle back towards the second half of the live stream, and we will cover those chart requests for you. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. Obviously, this is for educational purposes only, and hopefully we have a little bit of fun along the way. Woo! Bitcoin bounces. Now what? Right? Now what? That's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover, and anything else that jumps out of this on the watch list. NEAR is up 14.78%. So, and NEAR already had a buy signal, and so on and so on. So we'll cover it all. Can we hear a freestyle about Bitcoin? Good morning, Nunal, Pow, Market Sniper in the house. Good morning. What's up? So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I drew out this consolidation box, and just a quick recap. The quick version of this is we talked about on October 8th, I posted the Wyckoff distribution chart. In hindsight, that played out. On October 10th, I posted the bear market roadmap, laying out 5 longer-term targets to the downside. And I laid out the main thesis is that price would come back down and retest the 200-week SMA before it would make a new all-time high. And price has gotten within, 2 to 3%, maybe 3%, let's just say, on the wick. So we're continuing to get closer and closer to the 200-week SMA, the blue line down here at 58,520-ish, 521.27. And that's where we're at. Over here, price is dropping. And we talked about we expect bounces along the way. Even in a bull run, we expect corrections or pullbacks, but while it's still in the buy the dip season. In a bear market, we still expect bounces. We still expect relief rallies, consolidation, whatever you want to call it, dead cat bounce, whatever you want to call it. We talked about it. And then we saw wick to wick. We saw a 23.22% bounce. And over here, we saw the 21.5%, right? And both market sniper targets that we had on the chart on the same chart that we had in the same market sniper targets that we had laid out in 2022 for the March-April pivot, both of those targets were hit again, right? That's where we're at. We are calling out in real time. It's starting to break down. Sell signal, all that stuff. Quick recap. Sweet Canary 3006. Hello. London, UK Not So Sexy News, aka Lawrence. Welcome back. What's up? Thanks for always helping out with the algorithms on both apps, not only YouTube, but also on X. So we appreciate that. And then we were calling out the breakdown in real time. Sell signal below the train dots, below the upward trend line. And then over here at $81,000, we were talking about the opposite of a short squeeze. We could see a long squeeze, and we could see price move down very, very quickly, wiping out billions of long liquidations. And price was pushed all the way down to 66,000 very quickly. And in hindsight, that was accurate again. Then over here, we're talking about, expect bounces along the way. It's getting oversold. and we expect consolidation. And we drew out a consolidation. You know, obviously we don't have a magic crystal ball. Obviously, we don't know the exact timing of it all. Um, I had drawn this out that, possibly we could see price come back down, hit the 200-week SMA, and or this lower box at 52,000, below 56,000, 55,000, 54,000. The whole box area by the end of February. But it takes the reality is it takes longer, right? This consolidation lasted 50 from what is it? From wick to wick bounce. What's this? Just got an alert. From wick to wick bounce lasted 54 days, right? So it takes a little bit of time for the consolidation to happen. 54 days wick to wick. And so far we're at right now from wick to current candle of 24 days, right? So the consolidation takes a little bit longer. At the time, I was just calling out the end of February, but whether it's the end of February, early March, or it continues to consolidate for another 30 days, which is a possibility, right? We don't have a magic crystal ball. But we did talk about price could take out this wick up here at 72,300, and it still could. So we'll see what happens, but we are expecting bounces. We're expecting consolidations. We are expecting a relief rallies along the way, but it's a bear market, right? It's a bear market, and it's possible we are in a bear market all the way till October. So it's now March 2nd. And if we go till October, what is that? 6 months, 7 months from now. So still have possibly 6 to 7 more months of this. Maybe it goes into a longer bear market. This time there's a lot of similarities to 2022, but this time could be different, right? This time could be different. Good morning, y'all. Brian, Esquivel, 1575. What's up? What's up? What's up? So that's where we're at right now on Bitcoin daily chart. Let's see what else. HODL. New gap up here, $23. Old gaps down here. If price comes back down to the January 2024 all-time low, Bitcoin would be below $39,000. So those are all things to consider on HODL. We had a small head and shoulders over here. And what if this is a big head and shoulders over here? Jason, good morning, good morning, good morning. LG 2605. What's up? What's up? What's up? Good morning. So Bitcoin daily chart. We're going to cover the weekly chart. We're going to cover the 2-week chart. We're going to cover the 3-week chart, and we're going to cover the monthly chart, and then we'll get into the altcoins, stuff like that. One thing we've been talking about, which we'll cover, is we don't want to see a downward sloping 200-week moving average on Bitcoin against the dollar, like we've seen it on Bitcoin versus gold. That could mean a prolonged bear market. So we'll cover that chart, and we're going to get into all that, just like we always do on every single live stream. So with that, but before we do, we've never taken $1 of affiliate money. We don't have any paid sponsors or anything like that. So here we are. We're going to take a quick couple minutes and just show our backend portal. Here is the Bitcoin daily chart, but you can come over here and see I have auto drawn gaps on here for QQQ, automatically gaps it out for you. You can see I have the automatic trend lines. You can throw in the chart patterns, right? Signals. We have the signals on there, but I only have the reversal. I don't, you can see where it flips green. That's where the buy signal is, or it flips red is where the sell signal is. So I don't need to actually have the buy and sell signals on there. I just know when it flips green, that's where the buy signal would be. But I do like to have the reversal candles on there, and you could change the settings on it to make it more, um, you know, sensitive or not. So you could have less or more reversal candles. So each asset, you'd probably want to tailor it to each asset. I think this one's tailored to Bitcoin, and but just showing the gaps and stuff on QQQ, SPY, all that, and then you could turn on chart patterns, right? Whatever you want. We have it all over here under indicators. You could filter it by sniper filters. These are our own built ones, right? And then we recreated other ones like gap detection, chart patterns, Ichimoku cloud, all that stuff. Momentum, MACD, relative strength. So we have our own sniper RSI, but then you have the standard RSI as well. Volatility, Bollinger Bands, all that stuff, volume, all that. So we have all that. If you want to take a deep dive, we have 70 plus hours of recorded coaching. We have our own online chat. We're still using Discord as a bridge. We're still using TradingView as a bridge, but we have our own charting system as well. And then, of course, you can come over here to the screener and you can filter out over 4,000 different stocks, crypto, and ETFs over here. And you just come over here and filter it out. And you can see that it drops down to, from 4,000 down to 1. This is the daily chart. The weekly chart would look a little bit different. And you can change it between bullish or bearish, right? And this is the weekly chart. If you switch it to bearish, so here, for example, on you get a gap down here too, right? This is BRK.B, and you see that there's bearish divergence, overbought up here, and getting very wicky at the tops, creating gaps, all that stuff, and now it's breaking back down on the weekly chart. So if I throw on the signals, it would say pending. It'd probably say sell signal here on the weekly chart once it closes and stuff like that, and it maps out, automatically draws the trend lines, the gaps, all that stuff. So, and then of course you could put on patterns on and off, right? So if you've been following me for any length of time, you'll know my stance on patterns. They're not good enough by themselves. So whatever your strategy is, if you're adding patterns, it could help out with that. But if you've been following me for any length of time, so with that, we didn't want to spend too much time today on it. But we want to get back to the charts and keep it rocking and rolling over here. But that's BRKB. You can find that on the screener. Bearish divergence on the weekly chart. You could add filter. You could add the MACD divergence. You can go weekly, bearish, right? Or you could go daily, and it filters too much. So there you go. But it'll help you filter them out, and then you can find, the different ones like BRK.B, where you can see where price pumped really hard and all that stuff. So, boom. Looks like BRK.B after long-term bearish divergence and now a sell signal with possible lower highs, right? Looks like a bigger drop is coming for BRK.B. So, bada bing, bada boom. We've got a lot to talk about with the NASDAQ, SP 500. We can take a look at gold. Silver's down 7%. Altcoins, all that stuff. But first, let's get back into Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the weekly chart, 2-week chart, the higher time frames, and this is where we're at right now. Come over here to the bear market roadmap that we put out on October 10th. What I always say is it's not how the candle starts, it's how the candle closes. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles in a row where the weekly candle closed lower. Closed lower, closed lower. Let's see if you can see this or not. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Let's clean it up. Zoom in. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 weeks in a row that Bitcoin had a weekly candle close lower. But almost all of these candles started with a wick, right? So you had price started all the way up, or price came out all the way up to 97, almost $98,000 and closed below. So that was a bullish candle still. But there's no wick over here. It was just a bearish one over here. But you can see that price came all the way up to 90,721 on this weekly candle and then closed down here at 76,000, right? Price came all the way up to 79,337 and then closed all the way down here at 70,000. Wick starts up here at 71,500, closes down here at 68. So started up here at 126, 182 ish, 120, just call it 126, right? Closed down here at 114. So, in my opinion, the candle closes are more important than the wicks. It's not how it starts, but it's how it closes, right? So here we are. It's starting with the wick at 70,124. Will it close bullish for the first time in 7 weeks, or will it close lower again, right? So that's something that we don't know yet. Well, Mike's good. Mike's good. Just double checking. Sometimes I hit it with my face. So, how high up can BTC bounce go? And is it remotely possible that the bounce continues till April? I mean, it's always possible, right? It's always possible, but expecting bounces along the way, but lasting till April, yeah, yeah, it could, right? If we look at this weekly chart over here, I've got a weekly chart that I was showing on X the other day, and you can see where it's possible that it lasts, like it bounces and or goes sideways till April. It's possible. Um, chop around, just like it chopped around and bounced from November to January. So that was like 2 months almost, 54 days for wick to wick on the daily chart. So it's possible, right? It's possible for sure. If you look back over here, I think it's less likely. I think we're more over here, and that January, what was it? November to January relief rally was more similar to February to April, right? So I think we're more over here. So maybe it doesn't take that long. Uh, you can see this is kind of where I think it looks similar to um, March, April, or February to April 2022. And then this seems more like over here, right? So uh, this time's different, yes, but there are a lot of similarities as well. So that's what we're watching. And the weekly chart is bearish, right? It's catching a bounce, but it's bearish. And it's going to take time for the momentum to turn around to the upside. So this is a weekly chart. We've hit 3 longer term targets so far. If we hit all 5 targets, price will be down here below $40,000. But when, we don't know exactly when. We don't have a magic crystal ball, like I said. Um, Eventually, expecting what is this? Oh, whale alert. Whale alert. What else? What else? What else? Yep. So there we go. Weekly chart on Bitcoin. And if we come over here, I was drawing this out, and let me switch this to line to give a different idea, different perspective, right? Uh, line close. So I did post this chart. The opportunity zone, also known as buy the right dip, right? Buy the right dip. So when I posted this on X, it was down here, right? And it was lining up over here. And you can see, like, you can expect like little bounces along the way, right? So, but by the end of this weekly candle, it could close back down here, and it would look like it's just dropping straight down. So we'll see. But it's kind of ahead of schedule of 2022. You can see it's kind of following it, and it bounced up for a relief rally. Whereas in 2022, it bounced much higher. It was like a 45% bounce, and we only saw a 23% bounce wick to wick. So it was a completely bigger bounce and then drop down. So this was a lesser bounce. So it's happening much faster. So it is possible that we see, sideways, let the trending dots catch up, and then resume lower and finally retest the 200-week moving average in April. It is possible for sure. Could it happen before that? Yes. Could it happen later than that? Yes. All things are on the table, but calling the bottom in, I'm not calling the bottom in. When the bottom was in back in 2022, the trending dots were way down here, right? The trending dots are way down here. So it's going to take time for the momentum to turn around. If you look back, when it was bouncing over here, right? The trending dots were way up here. The trending dots were way up here. And so it took time for those trending dots to come all the way down, and battle it, and then finally break above it, right? It took time. So that's where we're at. If you look at the trending dots and we kind of freestyle draw out the trending dots, to flip around, that's kind of how it would look, right? This is the way I kind of envision it. It would take time, and during the way, maybe it bounces up, comes back down, bounces, right? And then comes all the way down. Who knows how low it goes, right? But that's how I see it. Oh, and why it would take time to play out. So, and of course, this is pure speculation, right? We're just speculating over here. We don't know exactly how it's going to work out. Like I said, we don't have a magic crystal ball. We can't tell the future or anything like that. We're just purely speculating, and you know, it's a possibility of how it could play out. And then we'll be there for the opportunity zone and possibly buy the right dip. But it's not how the candle starts, it's how it closes. That's the weekly chart. Go back over here and change all this back. Candles. There you go. So that's what we're watching over there. And we come over here, back to the weekly chart. Let's take all this off. Change this back to boom, boom. Right? If we go to the 2-week chart, the trending dots are way up here, but they're red. So it's going to take time for the momentum to shift back around, right? Similar to over here. If you're looking at the trending dots on the 2-week chart, looking at the trending dots on the 2-week chart, then it took a while for everything to flip back around bullish, right? It took a while. So that's what we're still looking at on the 3-week chart, 2-week chart, 3-week chart, and monthly chart. You can see the difference of the red training dots versus the green training dots for the momentum. So nothing's changed, right? We can get a 5% bounce. We can get a 10% bounce. We can get a 23% bounce. We can get a 40% bounce. We can get a 30% bounce, right? And we still have the overall momentum to the downside. We would still expect to short the bounces or price makes a lower high, right? So that's the 3-week chart, monthly chart over here. Sell signal on the monthly chart. Sell signal below the training dots on the monthly chart. And then the red training dots flip to red. So the training dots have not flipped to red yet. But if price pushes down just a little bit or next month, they could close red still, right? So it's so early in the month of March. It's the second day of March, right? So you can see price started up here at 126, created a wick, closed at 109. This monthly candle started at 111, 351, pushed higher, closed 90,000. This wick started at 94,900, closed at 87,000. This wick pumped all the way up to 98,000, closed at 78,000. You get the point. Wick closed at 67,000. Right now, it's a wick at 70,000. We could see it close below, right? And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 6 red months in a row, possibly. So, Bitcoin versus gold has already done that, and we're going to take a look at that chart as well. A little water over here, keep things going. Sitting pretty on my MSTX position. Are you long or are you short? So Bitcoin. So those are all the higher time frames. Let's see what else. What else? Let me take a look. Okay. And then just taking a quick glance at Bitcoin futures, right? Still have this gap up over here. It's always a possibility that it gets filled. I think it's less likely with the momentum so bearish on higher time frames. I think it's less likely. So, but there's a gap there, 81,275. Hello, hello, hello. Bitcoin versus gold. Still bearish on the daily chart. Weekly chart, ultra bearish. And the first time in Bitcoin's history, Bitcoin versus gold has a downward sloping 200-week moving average. Never have we seen that in the history of Bitcoin versus gold, that we've seen a downward sloping 200-week moving average. That's not bullish. That is bearish. So something to be aware of. Something to be aware of. If you look at it on the 2-week chart, you can see it as well. Always has been upward sloping, even in the bear market. Now it's downward sloping. And I've pointed out many times that you wouldn't want to see long-term Bitcoin versus the dollar in a downward sloping 200-week moving average. 3-week chart, downward sloping 200-week moving average, right? That's the 3-week chart, and then the monthly chart. Downward sloping, never happened before. And on RSI, this is the lowest RSI monthly candle close reading we've ever seen on the monthly chart. Closed at like here, move this out of the way. Closed at about 34.3. It's the lowest ever. So could it consolidate, kind of let everything catch up? Yes, it could. And then over here pointing out pointing out from this low, this RSI low to this low was 48 months. From this low to this low was 47 months. From this low to possibly this low would be 46 months, wherever it is. So it's possible the bottom is not in. It just made a new all-time RSI monthly reading close, the lowest it's ever seen before on relative strength. So relative strength has been leaving Bitcoin versus gold, and two historic things that have never happened before. This time is different. That Bitcoin versus gold has two major possible negatives. Yeah, just covered it. Yep. It's downward sloping is a bearish thing, not a bullish thing. So yep, just covered it. Bitcoin versus gold, Bitcoin versus the euro. Has already tagged the 200-week moving average. So I do like to look at different exchanges. I like to look at Bitcoin versus gold versus the euro, all that stuff, just to kind of like get a overall different look at it, right? So monthly chart had 1, 2, 5 months in a row. The main thesis was that Bitcoin was going to come down and tag the 200-week moving average before it makes new all-time high. That was back in October. And against the euro, it already tagged the 200-week moving average, the 200-week SMA. So there you go. Bitcoin is hanging on to the $1.39 trillion asset, but got within very close of the 1.16, came down to 1.2, and currently bouncing as of right now. What else? Let's look at some of these altcoins. We have XRP over here. Had the bullish divergence, not only on some of the altcoins, but Bitcoin as well. And that's where we're at right now. Let's see. XRP. We talked about it over here that we start seeing weekly candle closes on XRP from this horizontal line at 1.92. Then we could see, then the probabilities would continue to increase. That price is going to come back down to the 200-week SMA. And it got within very, very close, like 1 penny or 2 pennies, a couple pennies for sure on XRP. So that's XRP weekly chart. Ethereum below the downward sloping 200-week moving average. This is the monthly chart on Ethereum. Bum, 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 bum. Downward sloping 200-week moving average is not a positive. That's bearish, right? On the monthly chart, you can see the red trending dot already happening on Ethereum. The 200-week SMA is already downward sloping as well. So going against Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin versus the dollar is not as of yet. Bitcoin versus gold is already downward sloping. Ethereum versus the dollar is already downward sloping. So several altcoins already have a downward sloping 200-week moving average. And that didn't mean that it was bullish. What it meant was a lot of these altcoins went into a prolonged bear market and they're now bouncing after a huge move down. We're talking about from wick to wick. It's just been relentless, right? It's been relentless. On Ethereum, 64% in the last 6 months. Year to date, 30%. Yeah, 6 months, 52%. Woo. I mean, I have it measured wick to wick at over 60%, but there it is right now. So expect bounces along the way, but with a downward sloping 200-week moving average, it could be a prolonged bear market. It's something to consider. This is a double top wick, and you can see that the wick was taken out over here, but the monthly close was below her. So that was a lower high on Ethereum. So something to think about. Downward sloping 200-week moving average on Chainlink. So we've been talking about this. It's been in a bear market, and then it became a downward sloping 200-week moving average, and price just continues to go lower. Same with Cardano, right? Downward sloping, that's not bullish, right? Could it flip out? Could it flip back around? Yes. But I think it's going to take some time for it to play out. In the shorter term, some of these setups do look bullish, though, on the daily chart. And you could see a bounce in the near future. But the caution is all these higher time frames are bearish. And until proven otherwise, you'd have to expect all bounces to get sold off, right? So if you expect bounces, then you expect bounces to get sold off. And they have been all the way down. Algorand since November 2021, you've seen bounces get sold off since November 2021, all the way down. H bar, XLM, near, Bitcoin dominance, MicroStrategy. So this is the weekly chart on MicroStrategy, which, however the price action plays out, it's followed the 21, 22, 2023 bear market similarly, but we expect it to be different. So even though there's been a lot of similarities, there's also been some differences, right? So it's just as an idea, and we've saw the Adam and Eve double top pattern, and then of course, closing below weekly candle over here. This breakout to the downside, you see it broke below here, and we have targets all the way down to $82. We'll see if that works out or not. But over here, we're talking about if you're still bullish on Bitcoin, if you're still bullish on Bitcoin hitting $250,000, not bullish on Bitcoin long term, right? But bullish on Bitcoin hitting $250,000 by the end of 2025, like many talking heads were saying back in October of 2025. While MicroStrategy was in a bear market, while MicroStrategy was having a bearish engulfing candle, then I was saying that's cute. That's cute because the canary in the coal mine, MicroStrategy, was leading the way in this bear market. And it led the way in the last bear market. And we talked about it. And we talked about it. And we talked about it. And it even led the way to the upside a couple of times in the bull market too, right? So still the canary in the coal mine. I have no idea. Covered XRP. Uh, the bottom for XLM, no idea. A lot of altcoins have come back to retest these levels at 8 cents. A lot of these altcoins have come back to all-time lows, which XLM would be at under 3 cents, right? So if you got an all-time low, several altcoins have come back down and retested. Over here, several altcoins have come back and retested these lows. Retested. Is XLM going to do the same thing? We don't know. That's just being honest. But if we're seeing other altcoins come back and retest these levels, is it possible that XLM also retests those? Yes. It is also possible that XLM comes back and retests these bottoms. Could it go lower? Yes. Is it possible it never retest those? Yes. So, but it's just an observation that many altcoins have come back down. For example, Algo, right? So here is the all-time low, retested and went below it. And here we are below the March 2020 low. And right at the all-time low. So this is the new all-time low. And this was the former low over here. So it's below that, right? So it's possible XLM does something similar. And H bar, right? Near came back down. This is an all-time low, but it's currently below this pivot point over here from October 2023. Well, it's currently above it, but it already took out that low. So yeah, we don't know anything for certain. We don't know anything for certain. So okay. If you're still Here we go. Mike dead. I knew it. Check. There we go. Check. Yeah, when I saw it, it was like I was looking for the mic and I didn't see any green on it, but I didn't also see that the mic was off. So we're good to go. But at least I noticed it right away and we didn't go 20 minutes like we've had in the past. This is a live stream. We're going to expect the unexpected, right? But kind of going back to what I was talking about on XLM, if you're still in profit, you're probably not in a lot of profit. Like if you bought this dip, like my mom bought this dip, October 2024, she only held it for 3 weeks. She nailed it. My mom nailed this. And she had bought an XLM, Algo, H bar, Cardano, XRP. And during that pump, She flipped $3,500 into 12,500 in 3.5 weeks, right? Spot, no leverage, right? There's no way my mom's gonna have leverage, right? So, uh, that was a glorious pump in 2024, and so that's why I swing trade, right? That's why I'm a swing trader. You can nail a big move like that, buy low, sell into FOMO, right? But if you bought down here, well, congratulations, you're still up on your position, but now you've been holding it for 483 days, and maybe you're up 25, 30, 45, 50%, maybe 10%, maybe less, minus inflation. So, you know, that strategy is not for me. But most people, if they bought any time since 2018 in on XLM, they're most likely underwater. If they bought at 50 at the current price going back to 2018, you're underwater because if you bought and it's the exact same price as it was 2018, 8 years later against inflation, you're losing. You're losing. So probably not much, especially if you no. I just I've obsessively stared at charts. Obsessively stared at charts. I looked at charts for like 10 years, but I've obsessively looked at charts for like all day, every day for 6 years. But I've had like the same strategy for over 6 years. Of course, we have new wrinkles here and there, and we've gone down the automation rabbit hole, but obsessively staring at charts and keeping an open mind, staying neutral, not getting too bullish, not getting too bearish. But before I started obsessively staring at charts, I looked at charts for like 10 years. And I always thought, well, I was in my real estate and mortgage business. I always thought that I would be good at it. I love chess. I love playing chess. I love playing golf. So those are all strategy games. I love I love football too. There's a lot of strategy in football, American football. So I love strategy games, and I could stare at charts all day, every day. So what else? Buy win. Okay. Okay. Crypto is going to be salt when Bitcoin does not hit a new all time. It's possible. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Yep. 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 No sound. No sound. No sound. No sound. Yep. 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 Good now. Yep. Got it. Cool. 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 So let's keep going. XLM. Uh, near downward sloping. So yeah, just buy and hold, right? If you just buy and hold near, okay, you bought October 20th, October 12th, 2020, you bought near and you round tripped it and you lost money. Even if you bought on the first day of this exchange, you lost money. You've been holding for 1,967 days while they print and inflation goes up. You could have put your money somewhere else. So, if you're swing trading, you're buying low and you're selling into FOMO, right? You're buying low and you're selling into FOMO. In my opinion, my own personal opinion, that's a much better strategy than dollar cost averaging all the way down. No, thank you. If you could buy low and sell into FOMO, right? Downward sloping right now. What else? Let's switch gears. We'll come back to NASDAQ and SP 500, but let's switch gears. Take a look at gold on the daily chart. We put out this fractal back here on the end of January. It's just this fractal over here. And we said that we said over here that the higher time frames are ultra bullish. So we don't expect. You're welcome. You are welcome. Yep. We don't expect it to play out exactly. The higher time frames are ultra bullish, and many were calling the top over here. And I said, it's too early to call a top. And I definitely won't be shorting it because the higher time frames are ultra bullish. And in hindsight, that was accurate. And price went on to make a new all-time high at 5,600. Over here, I said it's too. Could the top be in? Sure, but it's too early to call the top in my opinion. And it's sold off and has rebounded since, right? Not because I have a magic crystal ball or I can tell the future. Not because of that. Because the overall trend is still ultra bullish. If you look at, and this is symbolizing that it's possible we see new all-time highs and create bearish diversions, go through a topping pattern that I would expect it to take time to play out. So we'll see how it unfolds in the future. But here's why. The weekly chart is still ultra bullish. Still. Could this be the top? Sure. 2-week chart, ultra bullish. 3-week chart, ultra bullish. But it's getting very wicky. It's getting very wicky. It's getting very wicky, right? I mean, it's gone parabolic. So it's getting very far extended away from the 200-week moving average, right? It's very extended from it. So eventually it's going to come back and retest the 200-week moving average. When? We don't know. Eventually it will. Just like it got very extended over here and it came back and retested it, right? But it's still ultra bullish as of right now. Push up, sideways. So that's where we're at right now on gold. It's still ultra bullish and until proven otherwise. So that's where we're at. Silver looks a little bit different. This could be the top. Maybe it's leading the way. This could be a lower high, the bearish engulfing candle. But it's also possible that it comes back down and it also goes through a topping pattern. So, or creates bearish divergence, right? So it might not be in yet. The top might not be in yet. So it creates bearish divergence, right? It's a possibility. And then a lower high. And that would be the higher probability that a reversal is coming. So we'll see. We'll see. But there is a potential bearish engulfing candle. Speculate. And then go back up like that, right? So VIX spiked hard to 25, right? And we were talking about this possible breakout before it happened. It's bullish on the daily chart. It's bullish on the weekly chart. This is the VIX, right? So if the VIX is spiking, then the markets are usually going through a correction as well. So that's the weekly chart is still bullish. 2-week chart Still bullish, elevated. 3-week chart, bullish. Monthly chart, bullish. So, uh, but gapped up and then just dropped all the way back down to here. So could be some wild times ahead. We even talked about that back here. Buy signal and then starting to push back up. We could start seeing some wild movements here in the near future with the volatility spiking. What else? Bum, bum. Let's go over to the Magnificent Seven. PLTR catching a bounce, right? Had the bearish divergence, lower high, lower low, nailed the target, consolidated at the target. It's not the lowest target. I think it's the third target, but was consolidating, bottoming, and then gapped up with a buy signal. And then this could be flipped. Oh, this was a lower low. So price is still putting in after the bearish divergence, lower highs and lower lows, but it's bouncing right now. Expect bounces along the way. That was a big move. Nvidia dropped down, but still in like this sideways consolidation since July. So I'm not trading Nvidia whatsoever. Microsoft hit all 4 targets to the downside, filled this gap over here that we talked about all the way down. What else? Netflix. Woo! We did this on the live stream, and it was a pending buy signal over here. And then we put this fractal out, and here we are. It's possible. I mean, it could still keep bouncing. It's ultra bullish, but it's possible we see this pattern or a similar pattern play out, and then Netflix continues downward. So this is like a classic Wall Street cheat sheet bear market of 44%, then goes through a relief rally, however it looks, and creates a lower high, creates a right shoulder, and then watch it drop after a couple months of consolidation. So we'll see. But that was kind of the idea that we did back here on February 25th. And 1 week later, now price is up at $97. So whew. Dollar is breaking out. Breaking news. Breaking news. The dollar is breaking out. So let's zoom in here a little bit. We drew this out back here at the end of January, and came down, and we just drew the squiggly lines. However the price action plays out, we don't know. But the overall idea is up, down, continue to consolidate, and then break out. And then it got rejected at this trend line, right? So the updated path would be more like, down, up, down, maybe gets rejected, maybe it comes back, and then comes out like that, right? So that's like the updated path that you could see, but it's bullish on the daily chart. It broke out of this more aggressive downward trend line, got rejected at the longer term trend line, and so could consolidate, let the trailing dots catch up, and then make a bigger move to the upside. So that's the dollar. We've been watching it. We've been covering it, and this is what it's doing right now. Weekly chart, pending buy signal on the weekly chart. What else? Seems like a bigger bounce is coming on the dollar, right? Seems like it. TQQQQQQQQ. Russell. They all dropped down pretty big yesterday and then or last night, and then they rebounded today. Could be short lived. Maybe it turns around on Tuesday. Turnaround Tuesday, right? Let's see. Nasdaq futures, SP 500 futures back up into the trailing dots. Oh, Dow Jones, Tesla. A lot of reasons why price could come back down here. We've been talking about that since the sell signal, and it's gotten closer. What else? SQQQ, Amazon, Google, SMCI, right? That's about it there. Let's see where are we at. Almost exactly 1 hour. So we're gonna get this wrapped up, and we're gonna cover some of the. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna cover some of the chart requests here, and what else? SanDisk, sure. Let's go through some of the chart requests. SanDisk S. I think you already had me cover this. So we're not going to probably not going to cover the same ones all the time, but we covered it the other day. So just don't, I'm all for covering something, but just not every day. So, but there was a RSI sell signal, no sell signal on the daily chart yet, but there was a RSI sell signal, MACD bearish crossover, all that stuff. So momentum, it was a great time. It was a great buy the dip opportunity, buy low, sell into FOMO, and now it looks like probably have bearish Is that? Let me see. Let me zoom in here. No, that's not bearish divergence. That's possible lower high. And then you had a bearish engulfing candle. So is the top in on SanDisk Corporation? Possibly. Did we cover this on Friday? I think so. And nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed. So nothing has changed. It's just really far extended away too. So bum 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 bum. What else? Oh, mic check. Oh, we're good. Weekly, monthly. Yeah, there's not enough chart history for monthly chart. Yeah, there's not much really to talk about on ZBCN. You didn't let me know what exchange it was, so I just picked the crypto cap of it. But the weekly chart is bearish. There's not a lot of chart history on it. Daily chart is still currently bearish as well. Uh, so not much really to report there. I don't do narratives. So when you say with what's happening now across the world, I don't do narratives. I don't do noise. I don't do news. I don't do any of that. Right. Someone had me take a look at this, and you can see like you got this falling wedge, right? And the wedge, there's bullish divergence. Clean some of this up. Bottom, bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom, right? 10 bottoms. It was going through a bottoming phase all the way from April 2025 all the way till January 2026. Nearly a year of going through a bottoming phase. So it has nothing to do with yesterday's news, right? In my opinion, yesterday's news was was an excuse for the bigger players to gap it up overnight. But it's been going through a bottoming phase. There was bullish divergence. There was a higher low. All of this was unfolding 2 or 3 months ago. Buy signal over here, January 8th, more than a month ago, almost 2 months ago. And it's been up since then on US oil. So I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm hyper focused on the charts, and the charts are telling you what's happening before it happens. This is from Friday. Yesterday's news on Sunday, and it was gapped up. The news, is going to be in hindsight of the charts. The charts are going to tell you what's really happening. So, in my opinion, uh, I like news alerts because like you're aware of what's going on. But you know, as far as U.S. oil, it's been going through a bottoming phase, bullish divergence, and breakout. So, woo-wee. What else? QNT. Oh, you have a lot of requests, so I think we got it all. We try to do like one request per person, so you've got a lot of requests. So we're gonna cap you out here. you have you have a lot of requests too, so we can cap you out. Or at least you said gold, natural gas multiple times, plus others. But I think that's about it. I'm not seeing any other requests. So let's circle back to Bitcoin, finish up $69,000 Bitcoin as of right now. We expect bounces along the way, while the higher time frames remain bearish. And thank you for all of your support. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for reposting the stream, commenting, liking, letting me know the mic was down for a minute or less, all that. And we will continue to sniper the markets together every single live stream that the stock market is open and that I'm able and willing. With that, hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for all that you do. And remind me tomorrow. We'll cover it tomorrow. I think I saw this earlier, but I missed it. But we're gonna sign off here now. Remind me tomorrow, and then post it early because this is kind of a. So I didn't see it, but just remind me tomorrow, and we'll cover it tomorrow. So with all that, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Adios.